I just had this opportunity to experience this beautiful country at such a young age that when I even brought friends in college, it was just easy for me to maneuver amidst the stereotypes of this is a dangerous country. I had friends that would come here and they were like, wow, it's great. Like, you get to come here all the time. And I'm like, yeah.
Hey Throp fam, welcome back to another video podcast episode. If this is your first time visiting, a special welcome to you. Here on my channel, we have meaningful conversations with people from all over the world, all about Jamaica. And today we have another special guest joining us here, Irie Jah, who I met serendipitously at an interview that I did with Jackie Lewis at Jackie's on the Reef. And I had the pleasure of having conversations with her about moving here and living here. She's originally from Brooklyn, New York. I just want to take the opportunity to welcome Irie to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been incredible, to say the least, about a transition here that was really unexpected. My name is Irie. Everybody calls me Irie, but my real name is Irie Jah, and I'm originally from New York City. I've lived in about every borough except the Bronx.
Okay.
And I came to Jamaica in 2018. After working in the healthcare field, after working in the nonprofit, youth and community development field, and after traveling to over 20 different countries.
Oh, wow.
I decided that I wanted to do something different. And one of the biggest reason that I was propelled to move was my grandmother. She just turned 97 in January. And so, yeah, she's had a number of strokes.
Oh, man, I'm sorry to hear that.
And she is just pushing forward. So I wanted to be here as all of her children are in the States.
And your grandmother and family is Jamaican?
And my grandmother and my family is Jamaican. My dad was born in Jamaica. My mother was born in London. But my mother's father was born in Jamaica. And my father's father was born in Jamaica. So I've been coming to Jamaica since I was a child.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay. And you,
literally.
And I guess before moving here in 2018, you said, you were quite familiar with Jamaica and the culture and everything like that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. As I said, I've been coming here since I was a child, at least twice a year, every year. Like I said, I have family in Kingston and Montego Bay. My grandmother's family is from St. Elizabeth. And I just had this opportunity to experience this beautiful country at such a young age that when I even brought friends in college, it was just easy for me to maneuver amidst the stereotypes of this is a dangerous country.
Okay.
Right? So I had friends that would come here and they were like, wow, it's great. Like, you get to come here all the time. And I'm like, yeah. It was interesting because I realized that I had a lot of American friends who didn't really have like Caribbean ancestry. So they weren't necessarily traveling like every summer to a tropical country or, just somewhere that their family came from.
Right.
That was outside of New York. So having a passport is something that I really highly value.
And can you just walk us through a little bit the process leading up to that actual I'm moving to Jamaica. I bought my plane ticket in 2018. I'm on the plane and I'm here.
Okay, there was a couple of things that led up to that, right? Because I actually left my job, my salary-paying job with the New York City in 2017 of June. And I really had this awakening, if you want to call it, that I was doing something in a place where I wasn't really appreciated. I was undervalued, I was underpaid, and I was burnt out.
Wow.
And while I knew what I was doing was really great, like I was a program director for a community center in Brownsville, Brooklyn, one of the roughest neighborhoods in Brooklyn. And I experienced so much trauma there. And I knew that the skills and the talents and the gifts that I have would be used better elsewhere. I didn't know like where and how that would look like, but I knew I needed to express that to the organization that I worked with and, take those next steps. So I did that. And then I attended a retreat that a friend of mine was having in the Blue Mountains in Jamaica. And that just led me on this journey of discovery, really. I called it my discovery journey. And I traveled after that. I traveled to try to figure out, like, what was I going to do next? Mm-hmm. And while I was in the Blue Mountains during that retreat, like I shared with her, one of the things that was troubling or even triggering for me living in New York City was just the hustle and bustle, right? And then it became the weather. So I experienced what you would call like seasonal affective disorder, where I was like so anxious during certain seasons, and I was just like, something has to give. And I realized, though, that I was traveling to Jamaica every winter.
I see.
To get away. Right? And to be with my grandmother. Her birthday's in early January. So I said, all right, well, I realized that while I'm away, like, I have this, like, just great experience of life. And when I went back, it was just different. So I noticed that. And then also while I was at my friend's retreat in the Blue Mountains, she'd asked me to teach yoga.
Okay.
And I'd shared with her that I did yoga personally since the early 2000s, because it really helped to quell a lot of the anxiety that I had and that I have sometimes still. So it was during teaching that class and the feedback that I got from the other participants of that retreat that, okay, this is something that you should take seriously, right? So that you can share whatever it is that you're getting with others. And I was like, okay, I'll look into it. And she encouraged me to seek out other teachers and, to get information on what would be the best path for me.
I see.
I spoke to a Bikram yoga teacher, and she gave me information for my current teacher, Master Yasir Hotep, who teaches Kemetic yoga. That was in 2017, and I was just blown away by the fact that I'd met someone who was teaching Kemetic yoga. I've been to Egypt twice, the first time in 2008 for about 2 weeks, and then the second time in 2010 for a month. And to have known that there was a type of yoga that was like based in Egypt, I was like, okay, I have to like find out more about it. So, okay, I reached out to the brother, and he sent me DVDs so that I had that information. And then I said, okay, I'm going to think about it. I wasn't sure like if it was the thing for me to do. Again, I was on this discovery journey. So fast forward a couple of months, that was August. December, I'm on a cruise doing yoga in a room that is called the Egyptian room. And actually the yoga teacher on that cruise, she was from Jamaica.
Oh, wow.
And I asked her, and I was like, I'm on this journey. And she's like, yeah, what? I was like, what do you think about me teaching Kemetic yoga? She's like, yeah, I've heard of it. She's like, yeah, I think you should do it. Follow it. Because, there's only the signs are telling you what you need to do. So I felt compelled. And, yeah, the next thing that I knew, January 2018, my mentor, who I travel with, to a number of organizations, passed away on the 2nd.
Oh, wow.
I had anticipating working with his organization since I had left my previous job. And when that happened, I was a little bit like disheveled. I wasn't sure what to do. And my grandmother came to New York in January. And as she was going back, it was finalized that, she needed to have some care with her, like on a regular basis, outside of her, home attendant or her I'm sorry, I'm lost for the words, but for her helper.
Right.
And so I decided to go because at that moment I was just like, okay, I have the time, I have the availability. I'm not married, I don't have any children yet. And that is how I got here.
Wow.
February of 2018 was my training, and I certified, and it was the most amazing experience I've ever had. For someone who's done yoga for about 20 years, I knew about like meditating. I knew that there was like energy, but this, how do you call it? This meeting here in Jamaica, in Negril, there were so many different layers that I was just like, okay, wow, here I am in Jamaica doing yoga.
That's pretty amazing, that journey that you went on and perhaps are still on at this point in time, right? And so just some clarifying questions. What is Kemetic yoga? What is that?
Okay, so Kemetic yoga.
Kemetic, I'm sorry.
Yep, Kemetic yoga, Kemetic. Kemetic. Kemet is the original word for Egypt, is the original name for Egypt. And so it's just an ode to ancient ancient times. And so we say Kemetic yoga, ancient Egyptian yoga.
Okay.
And so it's pretty much built upon the rule of 4 breath and geometric progression. So as we're taking in air into our body, into our nasal passages, and we're releasing it through our nasal passages, we're releasing tension, discomforts, blockages throughout the body, right? And then there's another layer of that where you're using energy through the different movements that you're doing to, again, release tension, release stress, and release blockages throughout the body. Yeah.
Okay.
in the simplest way to say it, but yoga is a union of the mind. Yoga is the union of the breath, right? To be still, how do I like to say, to transmute energy from your thoughts into your body, to connect to the, we call it the etheric body, right, to your chakras. So there are different layers of it. But Kemetic yoga specifically is found in ancient Egypt. My teacher, Master Yasser Hotep, and his teacher, Dr. Asar Harpi, created Kemetic yoga over 30 years ago have been traveling to Egypt. He's been to Egypt over 30 times. And he's trained over 5,000 students all over the world in Kemetic yoga. So he amazing. Teaches his trainings here twice a year. And yeah, so many people now are aware that there's a yoga that is based in Africa, and it's not just this, I don't want to say East Indian, but this Indian-based philosophy.
I understand.
Right? And so there's an overlap, and there's a lot of interconnectedness. And so a lot of the positions that you see in Kemetic yoga, you also see in Hatha, you also see in Iyengar, you also see in Ashtanga, you also see in Bikram. So there's a lot of overlap, but there is African yoga.
Okay.
And so I was just really just drawn to it because of that, because of my travels to Africa, and because of studying yoga for so long and haven't had the benefits of it.
And so when you moved here with your grandmother in January 2018, what part of Jamaica did you move to?
So I was living in Kingston. I was living in, I guess, an area near Pembroke Hall. Yeah, okay. So an area like that's pretty central to Halfway Tree, pretty close to the airport, about 40 minutes from the airport. And it's not considered uptown or downtown. It's in that middle area.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how did you end up moving to here in Negril?
Right. So, I was so fortunate to spend my first 2 years living in Kingston, teaching in Kingston. And then in the beginning of January 2020, right before the pandemic, I had an opportunity to come to Negril. And what was supposed to be for 2 months to teach ended up in the last 2 years.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Because the place that I inherited, for the most part, the person was supposed to come back, but they never came back to the country.
I see.
So I just literally took that opportunity, and I was supposed to teach for 2 months. And I am here 2 years later. And
this is at Jackie's?
No, this is in the, so you mean like where I'm, so no, I was teaching at the yoga center, with the formal yoga center.
Okay, across the street from Travelers,
right.
Gotcha.
Across the street from Travelers. And so I'd gotten a gig there, and that was what brought me to Negril.
I see, okay. And so now you're not all over, but you work at different yoga locations.
You can say that I'm all over.
Okay.
No, that's cool because I'm a traveling yogi. Like, that's what I say. And so initially, that probably looked like I was going all over the world before COVID. But now here in Jamaica, I get to go to Portland and teach at wellness centers for a month.
Wow, that's so
awesome. Or I
get
to go to Ochi and teach for a week at a villa or resort, or the same thing in Montego Bay. Or I'm actually hosting my own retreats.
Oh, really?
So that was another one of the things that came out of becoming a yoga teacher and living in Jamaica and having had friends come to Jamaica with me. Now I was able to do retreats, teach yoga, show friends around this beautiful island. And that's what I've been doing for retreats later, 2 years later in Negril. And I'm just looking forward to continuing doing that.
So that's amazing. So you came here as more or less a freelancer.
Yeah.
And now you've turned it into a full-on business where you're doing your own retreats.
Exactly.
That's pretty incredible. That's pretty incredible. And did you envision this before? Like,
I have just trusted the divine process.
I see.
And I've really gone against the past. I've really gone with the path of least resistance, right? And have just really stood up to say yes to a couple of things. So many of the opportunities that have come my way, I practiced saying yes to those things. So when you ask, like in the beginning of 2020, when I was supposed to be working at the yoga center and that was on pause, I then started teaching with a friend, Starboy, on the beach. He would do aqua yoga and I would do aerobics. I would be teaching, yoga outside of the water. And so that maybe took on for about 2 months, 3 months. And then I started teaching at Jackie's. And then I started teaching again, like at Go Natural in Portland, or I was having my own retreats. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
It really is. And so to, I guess, kind of move on, or I should say, stay within the context of Negril, how has your experience been living here in Negril?
You know what? I really appreciate Negril compared to Kingston. It's a more insular, smaller community, and I appreciated that. Everyone knows each other here, right? I ride a bike, so usually everyone's like, oh yeah, the Rasta girl on the bike. And I really, it feels like family here. It really does, and that's what I'll say. I do have a nice network of friends in Kingston, but we didn't gather as much as the friends that I have here. I appreciate being next to the water. I think that was one of the most compelling reasons that I decided to stay. Just as far as moving about, it's an easier commute for me to move around in Negril. And even, I guess, going to outside parishes, Montego Bay is 90 minutes away. The Knutsford takes you everywhere.
Right, yeah.
And the Knutsford is here. So it's been really easy to maneuver across the island. And then just being here, the West End, the Beach Road, the deep West End, that's it.
Right.
You have Little London and you have Sheffield and you have those other areas that are outside of Negril. I just appreciate the access to those, but I don't want to be on the water.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I do. I appreciate the rivers. I appreciate Benta. I appreciate Mayfield Falls. But it was really like having the access to the beach, having the access to the rivers within such a short space.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. In regards to your move from Kingston to Negril, how did you go about finding your place that you're living at now?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I kind of inherited my place. I had a friend that was living in the location where I am, and they moved outside of Jamaica, and they had intended to come back, but they didn't. So
that was the same person?
Yeah,
oh,
so
I
the lease
see.
was transferred over to me because I was only supposed to be here for 2 months, and I was supposed to go back to Kingston, but it just never happened because of the pandemic. So here I am.
Okay.
I would say that I was lucky, really, because I had asked a few friends, like if they knew of places that was renting, for a short period, because I wasn't sure, like, if I was going to be here permanently. But again, I found a place, and it was available to me for the cost that I was able to afford.
And so if this might be a hard question to answer, being that you didn't have to go through this, but like there are a lot of people who are wanting to do what you did, right? And are doing, and they kind of want to understand that process. And is it possible for them to come here to maybe at first spend an extended period of time and rent a place? How would you go about doing that now that you've been here?
Yeah, you know what? Initially, when I was coming to visit Negril, I was looking on Airbnb. Okay. And when I would come and, stay for more than a week, then I would talk with the Airbnb host, ask for a discount, ask for prorated, a discount on the rate. As I stopped doing that, I just started talking to more of the local people and asking them, like, if they knew of rooms or apartments for rent. And so I mentioned that I had friends come. And so I've had friends that have come and stayed for 2 weeks, and that turned into 3 months. And yeah, they've stayed at places on the beach, really based upon like a link that I've had.
I see.
And that person had someone stay for a few days, and now I've asked, hey, I have a friend who wants to stay for a month. It's literally like I knew somebody that knew somebody that knew somebody.
So pretty Negril, pretty Jamaican way of finding a place. So
yes.
That's definitely par for the course.
I knew a taxi driver that was taking somebody to that place, or I had a friend that was staying there before, or the place that I was teaching yoga, the owner was renting out an apartment. That's usually how I got the deal.
Yeah. And like, honestly, for those in like the YouTube world, like this is not a unique situation. Like this is literally how people find places to live currently. But I guess it works out, right? At the end of the day.
And you know what? I actually also had a friend who was in real estate. He's based in Kingston. And so I did like, again, when I had friends who were looking for places, I would reach out to him and say, hey, do you have anything that's not like on the market, like to sell, but something that's like a temporary place? And so, yeah, he was able to like to give me leads.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And so I know you talked about, or alluded to the things that you really like about Negril, the nature, the beach, the falls. Mm-hmm. Are there aspects or elements of Negril that you maybe want to see improved or perhaps changed?
Definitely.
Okay.
I mean, I hope I didn't say that too fast.
Let's get into it.
But yeah, being from New York City, a city girl, I lived in DC as well. So having this metropolitan vibe, right, that Kingston has, that you can get from the waterfront or that you can get from like Ligony, it's missing from Negril. You know, even that vibe that you get from being on the hip strip in Mobay, it's missing in Negril. Like, you know, the word development, right, and modernization and technology. Those things are missing in a way that I think, you know, we talked about opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity for technology to go really far here. There are, like, I would love to see like a bookstore or like a, you know, some sort of space where people can gather that maybe not be like focused on jerk chicken or seafood, which brings, you know, but it becomes very stereotypical. And so, yeah, that's why I said something like a bookstore or, you know, just something that's different, and yeah, utilizing technology to make that accessible to people in Kingston, to people in Mobay, to people in Portland.
No, I totally agree. And I think, you know, whether you're a restaurateur or you mentioned bookstore, I think if you just come to Negril and you do something different, you're going to be successful.
Oh, absolutely.
Because like there is such a yearning for these, what would I call essentially a simple business, right? Yeah, that you're just like, you scratch your head and you're like, how is this not here yet?
Yeah.
You will get the support. I mean, you'll be there. I'll be there. Our friends will be there as well. And yeah, I think that there is a big yearning for a diversity in business because everybody wants to open another jerk center or honestly,
and there's only one vegan-ish restaurant on the beach.
There you go.
You know, I was coming on a bike down today and I saw it was like sloppy tacos and I was like, tacos, there's not a place for tacos here, you know what I mean? And so people are getting really creative. There's Patsy's, you interview Patsy's, right? And so just looking at ways to offer something that we are already familiar with, but differently. Right.
I agree.
So I think there are a number of places that are trying to do something different. I really like the Pelican Lookout.
I heard they closed. Somebody told me that they shut down. I don't know if it's you know, for a period of time or permanent, but like I love it there too. I love it. I think that's one of like one of those like unknown gems of Negril, right?
And they were doing something different. I felt like with like architecture, like and repurposing materials. That again, like if that's done in a way that it doesn't have to be a franchise, but if it's done in a way that, you know, brings technology with it, I think it could be a great benefit for the beach road.
Yeah, I agree.
That's where a lot of people frequent. Like, not many people really go to the West End unless you're going to like Rick's Cafe. I can name a bunch of other places, but that's like one of the most popular places in the West End. And so to bring like more of this young youth culture to Negril, like you need to bring things that are attractive to them. I think the jungle was great, but even that's not fully open yet, right? So to bring more, whether it's restaurants or whether it's a bar or whether it's just a place for people to gather, you know what I mean? It's needed, and there's opportunity for it.
Agreed. And just so for everybody's purposes, the Jungle is a nightclub in Negril, literally the only nightclub in Negril.
And it's hard to believe that there are places like that here in Negril. That I remember coming here in like the early 2000s and it just being a different vibration. And so now living here and kind of, seeing how things operate, you're like, okay, we got to do something else. We got to do more. Right? We have to catch up to the Montego Bay. We have to catch up to the Fairviews in Montego Bay, right? You just have to catch up. And I think that people here want to. So it's just a matter of time.
You would think so, right? You would think I also think it's a matter of time, but how much time, right? And then also, who's going to do it? I think the people who are here and have been here, and when I say here, not just Negril, but Jamaica, Jamaicans, I think we can do it. It's just a matter of seeing the vision and the potential and doing it. And I always say, I'm not opposed to foreign direct investment. I encourage it. I would love it. At the end of the day, I want to see Negril progress.
Exactly. And prosper.
Okay. And not only for a small amount of people, but for the community at large. Right. And my instinct is that I think if we do it on our own, that is the greatest opportunity to create opportunity for our community and our community members, right? And so with that, you're very progressive in your thoughts and your ideas. Do you have any ambitions to do anything of this nature or bring these products or services to the community?
Wow. I'm going to be quiet because on that. Because, of course, I would definitely love to. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that. And I just look forward to whether it's partnering with someone who is here in Jamaica or, someone outside, from the UK or from the US or abroad. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for both. It's an opportunity for the country to provide employment. It's an opportunity to continue to brand Jamaica. And I think that is something that, again, is not just missing, but is not really pushed forward in a way that the people are like, we're going to open up another different something, right? Because I don't say another jerk center because we already have hundreds of those, right. And so maybe we'll open up an ITIL shop, or maybe we'll have multiple drumming studios, or something that brings people here that are interested in the culture, interested in the people, interested in exploring. Yeah. No,
I like that. And I'm glad, obviously I didn't know that you were thinking this way before our conversation, but I'm glad to hear that you are. And you also see the potential in the community. And you mentioned places like Fairview and Montego Bay. And I think, we need to catch up to them, but I think we have the potential to far surpass them. Because when you look at the foundation of what Negril is, man, there is just so many different ways that you can play this game, and then so many different directions that you can take things in. But we need more people like yourself and use our collective brain power to achieve these things. But I agree with you. I think there's so much potential here in Negril, and just need to get more people on board.
It's an investor's paradise, really. It really is. It really is. And when you see the land, you see an opportunity to put something there to bring people here. People want to come here. Yeah,
I agree. And based on your situation and your experience thus far, being in Negril 2 years, being in Jamaica 5 years now, right? Am I doing that? No, 4 years.
It's my 5th year.
Oh, it's your 5th year. Okay, good. Would you encourage other people to explore or take this leap of faith that you have?
I do. Yes, I will encourage people. I do encourage people, and I'll continue to encourage people, to be global citizens, right? To get dual citizenship if that's something that you want to do, and just to operate. And, we have this thing now where we're working remotely, right? So looking at another location to do what it is that you love to do. I think Jamaica is just ripe for many things. It's just a place where you can put so many, it's like putting seeds into the soil and waiting for your project to blossom, to bloom. That's how I see opportunity here. I think that anyone can come here. I have a friend who has a sea moss business in California, but the sea moss that she gets is from Sav.
Oh, for real?
Yes.
Wow, look at that. That's crazy.
So, she's coming back here to do that on a more full-term basis. And the list just continues. I have friends that are that work for different corporations like Nike, and they want to come here and do some corporate social responsibility projects. I have friends that contact me all the time, or friends of friends. They want to host a retreat, and so they're looking to bring people here. I have friends that also want to open up restaurants and, different types of businesses, get into music, get into entertainment. And I think that those industries haven't really been exploited the way that they've been in other places. And so that's why, I think it's just really ripe for people to come here and, partner with the Jamaicans. Partner.
So before I ask my next question, let me know if I can help with transitioning or helping to transition any of those people that you just mentioned, pointing them in the right direction, extending my network to them. I'd be more than happy to help in any way that I can.
Great. Thank you for that.
And I'm for real about that.
Okay.
What advice would you give somebody who is thinking about making that leap or considering making that leap to move to Jamaica?
Okay. So, the first thing, of course, is to save money. Mm-hmm. That's the number one thing. Make sure that your money is saved. Make sure that you have money at least for a year. Because you're not sure, you're going to come and you're going to spend a month, and then that month is going to turn into 3 months. And so, I think in the preparation, you definitely want to make sure that you save at least half your living expenses for the year. And then you want to make sure that the communities that you want to be involved in, that you've reached out to them already. You don't want to come here and say, okay, I want to do yoga, but you haven't reached out to the yoga community. So I was really fortunate that I was trained here, and that I read it, and that I did meet some yoga teachers that were here in Jamaica, and then actually invited me to the WhatsApp yoga community for Jamaica, right? So it's important to build community, it's important to save your money, and then it's important to be disciplined, right? So whatever that looks like for you, creating your structure, creating your schedule, you have to just be disciplined around it. Yeah, you have to be disciplined around how often you're going to promote yourself, how often you're going to reach out to the people that you want to be a part of your community if they're not already part of your community. And then I think mentorship is really key. Yeah, I think mentorship is really key, whether they're here in Jamaica or from where you're at home. You need people to encourage you. You need people to, help to hold you accountable to what it is that you say you want to do while you're here.
And when you say mentorship, you mean life mentorship in terms of helping you to achieve your goal, Absolutely. Not necessarily mentorship to move to Jamaica.
Right.
Okay. All right.
To help you to achieve your goals. But just in moving to Jamaica, you need... How would I say this? You need people that are going to encourage you, that are not going to, and you need people that are not going to put you in the wrong direction.
Right.
And I say that way because, again, Jamaica's so known for corruption, for being a dangerous place. And so people will reach out to you for the wrong reasons. Mm-hmm. And so you have to know that that's why you're not here for that, right?
Right.
And so I think that is something that you also want to make sure that, I'm not here for that. I'm not here to get caught up in any of that drama. And I'm here, for a purpose, again, to bring people to Jamaica, to have a peace of mind, to explore this beautiful country, and to live just, again, peace of mind.
Mm-hmm.
Peace of mind. And
kind of continuing down that line, have you had any experiences where you have, I was going to say feared for your life, but I would say in regards to the stereotypes of Jamaica and the media, how it portrays it as a dangerous country, have you had situations where you were like, man, did I make the right move here, or have concerns for your safety?
Thankfully, no.
Okay.
Thankfully, no. Another one of the things that I made that's really important is transportation. I think you mentioned in one of your videos having a car. Mm-hmm. I don't have a car, but I have several drivers.
Right.
In each parish, I have someone that I can count on to pick me up, to drop me off. And that's key, moving around, because you want to be safe. You want to make sure you're not going to be taken advantage of. And that's a big deal. So I think because I was able to maneuver that way without having to like scramble at the last minute or just be around people that I wasn't familiar with, that helped to ease my stay here, my time here, with less of that allure of the dangerous world. Mm-hmm. For lack of a better word, or it just really kept me away from that.
Well, I think you raised a really good point that I don't want to overlook earlier, when you basically said you don't want to get caught up in certain things, and you come here to focus on what it is you're focused on. And I think that's what happens to, there are many instances where people, as they say, get mixed up, and it's very easily avoidable, mm-hmm. Very, very easily avoidable. And I personally think Jamaica is a relatively safe country, mm-hmm. but at the same time, you can't take certain risks that you can take in, say, certain parts of Europe. Mm-hmm. I always say, I remember I was walking around in, I think it was Barcelona, mm-hmm. at like 3 a.m, mm-hmm. and there were, girls walking by themselves, coming mm-hmm. home from the bar, not a care in the world, stumbling, and I'm sure they all got home safely. Mm-hmm. You can't do that here. Mm-hmm. I mean, just plain and simple. Mm-hmm. And so it's not a place where you can kind of just throw caution to the wind, right. And you just really need to use common sense. And maybe you have that not only growing up in a Jamaican family, but also being from New York. You kind of come with this instinctual street savviness, right? And so it's probably easier for you to apply than, say, somebody growing up in Midwest America. No offense to anybody from Midwest America.
Right, and no offense to anyone who hasn't been able to come to Jamaica since they were a child. I think because, I have the family here. I've been coming here. Mm-hmm. I feel very comfortable. Yeah, because I grew up in New York City, the melting pot. You're around so many different people, so you get a sense of like, how to be street savvy, what not to do, right? Maybe you're carrying some pepper spray. I don't have a box cutter in my cheek. But like those type of things, like you remember. So it's just like, I'm not gonna just be like willy-nilly out here. And it's not to say that you can't, because I tell a lot of people all the time, especially when they come to Negril, like you can walk on the beach 3 o'clock in the morning and mm-hmm. be safe. Like it's not, no one's gonna like rob you. Right. But you still don't want to like throw caution to the wind.
Right.
So
that's a good way to put it.
It's been one of the safest places that I've lived, that I've spent time in, even as a single woman, mm-hmm. So I encourage people to just do the things that feel right to you. Like if it doesn't feel right, if a neighborhood doesn't feel right, then leave, mm-hmm. right? Because you want to be somewhere where you feel comfortable.
I think that's a good point. And I do want to get a little bit of an understanding of what your day-to-day lifestyle is like. Of course, you're a yogi, you're an instructor, you have your own business, and you do retreats, but more on the social end of things. I know you had mentioned you have a close network of friends here in Negril as well. So I just want to get a little bit of understanding of what that's like for you, and, perhaps people who are watching will like, hey, maybe that could be me as well.
Okay. So technically, like when I'm not doing a retreat, I'm teaching. And I have a few places where I teach in the West End. You see me teach at Jackie's. I also teach at Blue Iris Healing Pod in the West End. I also teach at Doc's Place. which is a medical dispensary here in the West End, in Negril, I should say. And then I also have taught on the beach road here. I've taught privately as well. But if you're coming to Negril and looking for me, I'm usually teaching from Tuesdays to Thursdays, Fridays to Mondays. I'm usually like traveling somewhere else in the island, going to visit my grandmother in Kingston. And so, yeah, I'm usually here in Negril teaching like during the week. Mm-hmm. And sometimes on the weekends, I hang out with my friends at Shirella. That's our like spot to have our little Saturday beach day.
Nice.
I love hanging out on the beach and listening to the live music at Roots Bamboo, at Drifters, at Bourbon. Those type of things. Like when I lived in Kingston, I loved going to the Dub Club on Sundays. That's like my... How do I say, like, that's my, that's kind of like my routine since I've been here to move, right? To move my body. And so that looks like dancing, that looks like biking, that looks like swimming, and eating such great foods. So going to Sav, getting sea moss, or getting fresh fruits, or even going, they have a market here, I think once a month in the Negril Park.
Yeah.
So, you know, I love things like that. Those are the things that really make me happy, picking up my food, supporting the local farmers, and just finding ways to give back. So haven't had a great opportunity to do it, but it's coming here in Negril to teach yoga to the children. Just being of service has been something that I really want to like get back into my schedule, because I spend a lot of time like focusing on myself, getting grounded. What is it that I want to do? And now that I've got to be a little bit of expert in what is it that I enjoy doing, I want to start to give back to others.
Okay.
So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned a lot of, I would say, hotspots in a sense that, and I kind of forget about these things, these places, I should say. And when you talk about your lifestyle outside of yoga, I think that's a great schedule that you have, work schedule. And then you have daytime of going to Drifters and hanging out there, which is a great place for live music, great crowd as well, great mix. And then Roots Bamboo, I don't know the days that they have, but I know driving home at night, I just see lines of cars on both sides. So I know they have good live music there as well. And then, I mean, you almost hit everything. And then you have your swimming, you know, you got the ocean right there. And of course you bike, as you mentioned. And then one of the greatest things I love about Jamaica is traveling around Jamaica. I think that's one of the most underrated things about the country. And road trips could be you driving, or that could be you using the Knucksford Express and just chilling and enjoying the scenery and following the coast. And so I think that's, I mean, just fantastic that you have that balance, and also that it's literally at your fingertips, everything that you just mentioned. Yeah.
Traveling, you know, as I mentioned, like traveling, I've been to 20 different countries, right? But coming to Jamaica since a child, spending the majority of the time in Kingston or Montego Bay, since living in Negril, like I went to Portland, I went to Treasure Beach, places that I never would have thought that I would have go to, because my family's in Kingston and my family's in Mobay. But because I live here in Negril now and I'm doing the retreats, you know, you have this sense of like, what else is there, right? And then you have people like you who are showing you like, oh, you can go to Ivy Cove, which I had my retreat at in November.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay, awesome, awesome.
You know, I really just have been on this journey again of exploring Jamaica. It's an island with so many different, you know, treasures. It really is. I
got goosebumps when you said that, by the way, but like it totally is. And you're never going to find and know all the nooks and crannies. Right. It's like a never ending adventure that you always hear about something and you didn't know existed. And maybe you have been to Treasure Beach a million times and you're like, I've never heard of Ivy Cove. Or even when I was talking to a previous guest, she was telling me about these different places in Treasure Beach. And I go there all the time. I was like, what? I've never heard of this place. And so you're right. There were just so many like gems just all over. And I'm always excited to explore when I have the opportunity. So your yoga retreat is actually called Retreat to Freedom.
Yes.
And you essentially share your journey of your retreat to freedom in a book that you recently wrote.
Yes.
Right. So can you tell us a little bit more about that book and also maybe even the yoga retreat?
Okay. So as I said, I've been on this discovery journey. Mm-hmm. And it was while I was here in Jamaica that I was on this discovery journey and discovered freedom. And just the access to freedom, mind, body, and spirit, right? We talked about food. We just talked about access to nature. Some of the things that we don't necessarily give ourselves when we're in the hustle and bustle lifestyle. And just conversations with my life coach, conversations with my mentors, conversations with friends that were coming to Jamaica that I was doing yoga with and not calling it anything, birthed my Retreat to Freedom series. And so I've, since 2019, been hosting these retreats. Some of them are twice a year, some of them once a year, small groups to expose them to Kemetic yoga, and then this other layer of professional and personal development. So whether you're talking about a boot camp for your financial life, right? Or whether you're talking about eating healthy, then I'm bringing in my live food raw chef. Mm-hmm. Or if we're talking about learning about energy and energy healing, then I'm bringing in my pranic energy healer coach. And so it was this opportunity that I saw for myself to teach people yoga, to bring them to Jamaica, and to have them like tackle whatever it is that they were up to in life at that moment. And so the Retreat to Freedom has been a boot camp. The Retreat to Freedom has been a financial retreat. This upcoming retreat in February from the 17th to the 22nd is going to be a writer's retreat. Awesome. And so, out of my own literary journey, I've been journaling and writing since I was a child. I had this time to create something, right? And at that time I was turning 38. And so I created 38 Ways to Discover Freedom.
Awesome.
Right. And they're just a collection of insights that I have created. So people who are looking to experience freedom in ways that they haven't, right? Going on a plane, going on a boat, right? Taking yourself out of the driver's seat, mm-hmm. reading a book, going for a hike, jumping off of a waterfall, going, skydiving, quitting your job. That's the first one. Mm. And it's really about stepping out of your comfort zone, right? It's really about doing the things that bring you joy, right? For yourself first. And then when you have that and you experience that and know what it's like, then you can share that with others.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so where can people get this book?
So this book, 38 Ways to Discover Freedom, you can purchase it on Amazon. So you can get the paperback edition, or you can also purchase it, same thing on Amazon, you can get it a Kindle, right? If you have your Kindle, the app, you can read it on a Kindle as well.
Okay.
Right.
Awesome.
And then, if you reach out to me directly, you can get a signed copy.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think people will like that. I think people will appreciate that.
And you can actually do that on my website, irietravels.com. So that's www.travels.com. You can also find me on Instagram at Irie_Jah. That's IRIE_Jah, JAH. And you can also find me my first and last name on Facebook and LinkedIn.
Okay. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And so I think you hit us with just so many gems today, Irie. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I know the audience is going to appreciate it as well. So I just want to take the opportunity to thank you for joining me here on the podcast, and would also like to welcome you back in the future, because I'm sure people are going to want to hear a lot more about your story. But of course, they can find out a little bit more in your book. So I would encourage everybody to check out Irie's book. And with that, again, thank you, Irie, for joining us.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And thank you all for joining us here today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And of course, as usual, if you got any value out of our conversation today, please hit that like button. It definitely helps out a lot. And if you aren't already, also hit that subscribe button. and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Peace. All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.